Engineering. He only wants to go to the works because Joe and the rest of his pals are there. Besides, what's the sense of it anyway? When we've got a nice little business here. You know we need some help in the shop.
It's all very well, Dad. But even if you are out about me and Joe, I wouldn't work in the shop for anything.
No, I don't suppose you would. You'd be spending all your time next door with Joe on that bike of his. Perhaps you'll change your mind a bit later on.
Anyhow, I still think Mum's right.
Joe.
Aren't you ready yet, Johnny? Okay, just a minute.
Remember, you've got to be up early in the morning.
I felt very small that first day at the works.
They all do. And it's a bit scaring, too, your first day. But we told him something about the place and gave him a map to help him find his way around. They need that map, the place being the size it is. Johnny walked miles those first few months at the works when he was a messenger boy, and he came face to face with most of the people who mattered, the chief engineers of all the departments, from the drawing office to the melting shops, all of them top-notch engineers in their own line of work. Designers, constructional engineers, blast furnace engineers, chief electricians, chief draftsmen, and so on. Running errands around the works, Johnny met all of them, but he felt pretty lost most of the time. Mind you, it's difficult to make up your mind just which particular branch of the industry you want to go in for at that age, and Johnny was no exception, though it was pretty easy to see which places in the works caught his fancy. Yes, he liked these machines all right. But at the time, it was Joe Barker's motorbike that interested him most.
You see, although it was Joe's machine, I had a pretty large share in it, as I couldn't afford one of my own. It was the only thing I really felt I knew something about. And anyway, I was the only one who knew how to keep it running. I don't think much of these tuppets. What's wrong with them? The rock-around's badly pitted. Eh? The rock-around's badly pitted.
Oh, God, they're all right.
Well, you won't get a decent performance out of it.
Ah, come off it. You don't know what you're talking about.
Got any feelers?
Feelers? No.
Oh, you. You haven't got anything. I think Dad's got some.
Well, I was never very keen of him going to the works. I wanted him to stay here and help in the shop. But no, he just wouldn't have it.
Well, there's some excellent opportunities on the works, Mr. Payne.
The trouble is, he doesn't seem to know what he wants to do. All he's interested in is motorbikes.
Well, you know what these lads are like at that age.
Hey, Joe, I wonder what's up. Mr. Bell's in there with Dad.
Mr. Bell? Who's he?
The training chap. You know, the fellow who looks after the apprentices.
Apprentices? What do you want to be an apprentice for?
I don't know as I do, but anyway, at least I learned a trade, which is more than you'll ever do.
Well, if you want to go back to school for 5 years, you're welcome. I'd rather have a motorbike. Anyway, what trade are you going to learn?
I don't know.
You see, John, your school reports were good. And now you're through being a messenger, I think you ought to have a shot at learning a trade. Hello, Bell here. Yes, I'll be down later. Sit down. The only question is which trade.
Yes, Mr. Bell.
Well, what do you think?
It's hard to say, really.
Have you got any hobbies?
Nothing special.
What do you do in your spare time, then?
Well, different things. I mess about with Joe Barker on his motorbike a lot, but that's not really a hobby.
Well, the boiler shop needs a couple of apprentices. How do you fancy boiler making?
Not really.
Well, how about an electrician, then? There's a vacancy there.
I don't think so, you see. The only thing I know anything about is motorbikes, and this isn't a garage.
Not exactly. Do you know, John, I think you're being very silly about this.
Why, Mr. Bell?
Ever heard of a fitter?
Mm-hmm.
Well, surely that's the trade for you. You're interested in motorbikes?
Yes, it might be.
You'll have a smack at it. If you work hard enough, you never know, you may end up the works engineer one day. Variable, then. We measure the distance x between each of the waves. If the lengths are equal, then the speed has been constant.
Hi, Dan.
Will you slip over to the stores and get me a left-handed spanner?
Oh, yeah? I'm full of tricks. Would you like left-handed screwdriver as well?
If you want to find the horsepower of a steam engine, then, you use the formula PALN over 30.
What's wrong, Dan?
These footprints are too small. Where are those big ones we used to have?
Oh, I lent him to Taylor. Just a minute. How are you doing?
How's this?
Oh, you're not doing too bad, eh? Just slip over to Taylor and fetch them footprints that I lent him.
Okay. I'll give him footprints. Well, that's not really was the name of the tool.
Yeah, that's what comes of trying to be clever.
Be a waste of time you trying anyhow.
You coming out tonight, Johnny?
I don't know, I've got a class at the tech tonight.
Come off it, schoolboy. It won't hurt you to miss it again.
Ah, shut up.
Well, I told you to be like this. Why don't you forget this apprentice lark? Well, you coming or not?
Yes, okay, I'll come. I don't suppose it'll matter.
night, chaps. Oh, Payne, I want you a minute. Haven't been ill lately, have you, John?
No, I haven't, Mr. Bell.
Well, look at this. It's terrible. I haven't seen you here for ages.
I know, Mr. Bell.
It just won't do, John. You want to learn your job properly, don't you?
Of course I do.
Well, you can't just turn up here when you feel like it. This is just as much a part of your training as your work in the shops. You realize that, don't you?
Yes, I know.
Well, just what have you been doing all this time?
Well, I didn't think it mattered missing a few classes.
Now, look here, John. You don't have to be an apprentice. There are lots of other jobs on the works you don't have to study for. You can go and work with your pal Joe if you like. But if you want to be a fitter, you've got to get down to your classwork and like it.
Yes, Mr. Bell.
It's up to you, John.
Hello, Johnny. I've been waiting for you. Coming round?
No, not tonight.
What's up?
Oh, nothing.
This fellow John Payne. Don't know whether he's going to be any good.
His practical work's all right, isn't it?
Yes, but you know he's missed 2, 3, 4, 5 classes in the last month.
Well, lots of lads are like that at his age. Look at young Reynolds. We was going to throw him out. Now he's one of the best lads in the shop.
I know, but do you think that's going to happen to Payne?
I don't know. Let's give him a chance. I'll have a word with him.
It's just these classes. My practical work's all right, you said so yourself. But it's so boring.
Yes, I know how you feel. I used to get fed up when I was your age. But it's my job to see you make the most of your chances. I wish I'd had them.
Well, you can have them for all the good they're doing me.
Now, Johnny, you know you don't mean that. Let's go and have a look at that clutch on number 2.
Okay. John, got any classes on tonight?
No, I haven't.
Well, why not come round to the club about 8 o'clock and we'll have a chat, eh?
Okay.
Don't forget.
Okay.
Johnny, where are you? We're going out.
It's no good shouting, I've got a date.
Well, you'll have to cut it. Look here.
Speedway tickets. Is this tonight?
Yes, 8 o'clock. Now look, I'll push on and get a good place. I'll see you in the stand. Here's your ticket. Don't be late. You haven't got long.
Back up there on the left.
Right down on the left side.
I'd rather have a motorbike. What do you want to be an apprentice for?
You never know. One of these days you may end up the works engineer.
The trouble is, he doesn't seem to know what he wants to do. All he's interested in is motorbikes.
Well, you have been a truant, Johnny, haven't you?
What's a drone anyhow?
Oh, I don't know. Some kind of a footprint. Now you're a bit better pleased with yourself, I've got some news for you. You're going out on a job on Monday.
Honest? Where to?
Blowing engine house, I think.
What as?
Why, you chump. Apprentice fitter. What you are. Yes, you might say John had been a bit of a fool, really. And he admitted it. It wasn't till he got out of the training bay that he realized the importance of what we'd been telling him. Now he was out on a real job, I think he began to see the value of the classwork Mr. Bell and I had got so worried about. It's all very well knowing how to use a pair of pliers or a spanner, but that won't get you very far by itself. Johnny soon learned how to fix a new nozzle on a mud gun, for instance, but he had his ambitions even then, and he realized that he'd have to do a lot more theoretical work if he was ever going to be a chief engineer of any sort. And of course, that's what he'd set his heart on. And I think even his pal Joe began to envy him a bit. I shouldn't wonder if Johnny didn't already look forward to the day when he'd be a fully qualified engineer like some of the chaps he'd met when he was running errands. Give him 10 or 15 years and he could see himself with a really important and responsible job. Maybe with an office of his own, or at any rate, a desk. Well, after all, there was really nothing to stop him now, except himself. Mind you, in a place like ours, there's every kind of engineering job you can think of. And if you go about it the right way, there's no real reason why you shouldn't get to the top in any of them. Or at any rate, nearly the top. You see, Johnny was feeling a lot better now that he could see his way ahead. Oh, and he got a motorbike of his own, too.